Well, we have two named tropical systems out here in the Western Pacific today. Francisco, well over open ocean at this time, and starting to weaken in intensity. Vice, it's just Category 5 equivalent status we had here over the weekend, so that's continuing to pull off towards the northwest. We also have our newest named storm system, Lakima, forming here over the Micronesian Islands and pulling towards the west as well. Very well going to be impacting the Mariana Islands going into the mid part of this week. But first, let's talk about Francisco, which, like I said, has weakened but still remains a very powerful storm system. I mean, upwards of about 100 knots sustained in that center of circulation. You still see these very clear spiral bandings wrapping around this storm system, but what we are seeing on the visible satellite imagery today is a lot of that cloud cover getting sheared off towards the north and that drier inflow wrapping in around it. These are the first and early stages of extratropical transition. It's not there quite yet, but it is starting to feel those effects of the northern latitudes as the storm system tracks farther off there towards the northwest. So from here on out, expect it to continue to decrease in intensity as far as the max winds in that center of circulation. The other good news today is that many of the models have come in line with where exactly the storm system is going to be going, moving off here towards the northwest, staying east of Okinawa and the Amani Islands, but it is going to bring some pretty gusty winds. I mean, this is venturing very, very close to there, and then pulling off there towards the north in a very similar track, in a very similar fashion as we saw with WEPA. And this is the official track from JMA, with that really moving off there towards the northwest, staying west of Daitojima, putting them right in the right front quadrant, and then turning towards the northeast. Now, they base theirs usually off the JMA model, and I'm seeing they're a lot slower than a lot of the other models with their outlook, and that's the key difference between what JMA is forecasting and the U.S. military at this time. Right here, you see this is 2600 UTC, so that'll be Saturday early morning south of the Key Peninsula, also around Wednesday and Thursday towards the east of Okinawa and the Amami Islands. Well, let's compare that up with what JTWC is saying, and this is actually showing by Wednesday and a Thursday early morning towards the east of Okinawa, then racing off here towards the northeast, becoming a tropical storm very quickly, and a lot of the agencies agree with that. By the time it gets wrapped up in those mid-latitudes, it's just going to fall apart. But basically, passing by Tokyo, going through the overnight hours on Friday into Saturday. So about 12 hours faster than what JMA is showing. So let's just show you some of the model outputs, most of them agreeing at this time, and I'll just compare it up with the ECMWF and what they're saying as far as where the core of these winds are going to be first, and then we'll talk about the precipitation. So this is just going through the day here. Well, basically on Tuesday, staying towards the southeast, it's going to start to approach Daitojima, then pull off there towards northwest. ECMWF, fairly good model at depicting that center of circulation and where it's going to go after a storm system develops. So something to keep in mind. But really going through Wednesday evening, just staying towards the east of Okinawa and the Amami Islands. But by this point, you start to see that jet stream dig in from the north. When we scroll up, you can really see that dipping down, that scooping effect. That is just going to pick this up. I call it kind of like a fish and hook type thing. This is really just going to hook this storm and pull it off there towards the north, and that's why we take a look at the winds. It's going to basically come close to the southern Japanese islands here basically by Friday or by Wednesday evening, and then turn rapidly towards the northeast, racing off as it gets picked up with that jet stream, and then eventually becoming extratropical, but moving over towards western portions of Japan, possibly anywhere from Shikoku towards Tokyo, though. This is still about 5 days out where we could see this storm system making landfall. And if we just pull up the precipitation for the same time period, you can just see that widespread rainfall out here. And then let's take a look at the GFS for about the same time period, going through Friday. Widespread rainfall a little bit farther there towards the west. Meanwhile, Lakima racing up behind it. Now, this one should stay out over open ocean, but really it could combine with this storm system after it impacts Japan, making just one larger rotating massive cloud cover there in the northern Pacific, and it could bring some rainfall and possibly yet again even snow to Hokkaido, so something to keep an eye on. But yeah, that is our forecast at this time, moving past Okinawa and the southern Japanese islands, staying towards the east basically throughout the day on Wednesday. I say Tuesday night, but that's when you're going to start to see the winds approach. But Wednesday is going to be just towards the east of Okinawa, right around Daitojima, then turning towards the northeast northeast, impacting much of Japan likely by Friday. If Thursday and the Friday here, if it does pick up space, but basically Friday making a landfall somewhere from Shikoku Key Peninsula up towards Tokyo. Main threat, once it gets farther here towards the north, is going to be the heavy rainfall, much like what we saw with Weepa. So similar impacts actually from this storm system that we saw with that one, except I do think it's going to be a little bit farther towards the west, which would mean a stronger impact on the Tokyo metro area and some of the higher elevations farther inland, causing that risk of flooding. We also have Lakima developing here, though, over the Micronesian islands, and this one at this time is stirring up the oceans. It's not hitting any major populations, but Guam and the Mariana Islands, we were just discussing when Francisco formed, that haven't been hit by any strong typhoons in quite some time. This could impact that area, but the good news, once again, some more good news, is that it's going to miss the bulk of the major populations out here in Guam. Staying towards the north and really just hitting a lot of these uninhabited islands off there, but Guam, you still could see some pretty gusty winds, and some of those outer rain bands could bring some rain showers, likely on to Wednesday into Thursday later on this week. Storms expected to max out around 105 knots intensity just off the northern Mariana Islands. A larger population where it could be impacting is some of these Ogasawara Islands out here, southern islands of Japan. Could be seeing some typhoon strength winds, but if anybody also is ready for typhoons, it's these people. So something to keep in mind, but at this time, I don't really see this one impacting any major lands, but we'll definitely keep a very close eye on it. But that is all I do want to mention. Last night, on Sunday night, we did make a video update if you follow us only on YouTube. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the file to load to YouTube. It's kind of a pain and one of those things. If I can't get it to load there, please do go check out the website. We just load it directly to the website. Plus, we make our full updates there as well. I need to update that. Looks like the ensemble changed towards a system in the Eastern Pacific. But if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you can always post them down in the comment box below. And as always, stay safe out there. Bye.